Linda stood in the kitchen of her paid-off Ohio house with three pieces of paper on the counter: a Medicare premium notice, a property tax installment, and a roof repair estimate for $7,800. She read the roof number twice, then looked out the window at the same maple tree she had watched grow for 30 years. This was not supposed to feel fragile. Linda was 68. She had done the things responsible people were told to do. She stayed with one hospital system for decades. She avoided credit card debt. She bought a modest house early and paid it off before retirement. She did not chase hot stocks. She did not lease luxury cars. She did not live as if money grew on trees. On paper, Linda looks like the responsible one. Then there is Marcus. Marcus is 43, an IT project manager, standing in his apartment before work, checking his savings account on his phone. The balance says $92,000. Not because Marcus is careless, because Marcus remembers 2008. He remembers his parents whispering at the kitchen table. He remembers the house being worth less than the mortgage. He remembers retirement accounts falling at the same time home equity vanished. He watched adults who had followed the rules suddenly look frightened by numbers they could not control. So Marcus built a fortress. No lifestyle inflation, no risky bets, no giant mortgage, no trust in easy money. He kept cash because cash did not crash on a screen. Cash did not require faith. Cash was there. On paper, Marcus also looks responsible, and that is what makes this uncomfortable. Linda and Marcus are not opposites because one is smart and the other is foolish. They are opposites because each one learned from a different financial wound. Linda trusted the old promise: loyalty, home ownership, and debt avoidance would create stability. If you worked hard, stayed with a good employer, paid off the house, and reached retirement with Social Security and a pension, you would be okay. And for a long time, that promise sounded reasonable. Marcus trusted the lesson that came after the promise broke. Liquidity mattered. Institutions could fail. Housing could fall. Retirement accounts could drop right when a family needed confidence the most. And that lesson was reasonable too. Linda came from a world where pensions and paid-off homes were treated like retirement armor. Marcus came from a world where leverage, housing optimism, and blind faith in markets damaged families. Neither person is lazy. Neither person is reckless. Linda's mistake was not spending wildly. Linda's mistake was undersaving in her 401k because she assumed the pension system would replace more of her income than it actually did. Marcus's mistake was not being irresponsible. It was letting cash feel safer than math for too long. Professor Wealth ran the numbers, and the first crack shows up fast. Linda's fixed retirement income is $2,900 a month from Social Security and a small pension. That sounds stable, but her realistic spending after Medicare premiums, property taxes, utilities, groceries, insurance, car costs, and home repairs is closer to $4,100 a month. That is a $1,200 monthly gap. Her house is paid off, but the house still sends bills. No mortgage does not mean no cost of living. Meanwhile, Marcus's $92,000 cash balance feels powerful. It feels like control. But if he holds too much of it in cash for 12 years, while inflation averages 3%, and a diversified S&P 500 index fund averages a realistic long-term 8% before inflation, the emotional safety of cash can quietly cost him tens of thousands of dollars in missed growth. His account balance may rise, his purchasing power may still fall. That is the hidden problem with generational money advice. Every generation tends to treat its own financial scar tissue as wisdom. Boomers learned that loyalty, homeownership, and pensions could build stability. Generation X learned that institutions could fail, layoffs were real, and safety mattered more than optimism. Millennials learned that debt could delay adulthood, so paying down loans felt like freedom. Generation Z watched speculation, inflation, and unaffordable housing rewrite the rules, so speed can look more rational than patience. Each lesson contains truth. Each lesson also has an expiration date. The safest lesson from one generation can become the most expensive blind spot for the next, because generational money behavior is usually a survival response to the last crisis. But advice built for yesterday's danger can create tomorrow's mistake. Picture a family photo album. On one page, a parent hands a child an umbrella. It is a good umbrella. It protected them once. It meant something. It came from experience, fear, sacrifice, and love. But the weather keeps changing. Linda's umbrella was built for a pension world. Marcus's umbrella was built for a housing crash. Someone else's umbrella was built for student loans. Someone else's was built for inflation and speculation. The question is not which generation is smarter with money. The question is whether the advice still matches the storm. Professor Wealth ran the numbers, and the surprising part is not that each generation made mistakes. It is that most of the mistakes began as good advice. Start with Linda, because from the outside, Linda looks safe. She is 68. She owns her Ohio home outright. No credit card debt, no mortgage. She receives $2,050 a month from Social Security and another $850 from a small hospital pension. That is $2,900 a month, $34,800 a year before touching her 401k or IRA. And for years, Linda thought that was the point of the whole plan. Work steadily, buy the house, pay it off, avoid debt, retire with Social Security and a pension. But her actual life does not cost $2,900 a month. Once Medicare premiums, a Medigap policy, property taxes, utilities, groceries, homeowners insurance, car insurance, gas, prescriptions, and a realistic home repair reserve are included, Linda's monthly spending is closer to $4,100. So the gap is $1,200 a month, $14,400 a year. That is the number hiding underneath the paid-off house. The house removed the mortgage payment. It did not remove property taxes. It did not remove insurance. It did not remove a roof, a furnace, a water heater, or inflation at the grocery store. Linda has $185,000 combined in her 401k and IRA because she contributed lightly while working. Not because she was careless, because the pension felt like the foundation. But withdrawing $14,400 a year from $185,000 is a 7.8% withdrawal rate before market swings. A more sustainable 4% withdrawal rate would support about $7,400 a year. That is about $617 a month. Linda needs $1,200. Her portfolio can sustainably cover about half the gap. The missing math is roughly $583 a month, or about $7,000 a year, that the old retirement rulebook never fully accounted for. Now, put Linda through 3 versions of the same life. In the first version, she does nothing. She pulls $1,200 a month from the portfolio. If her investments average 5% a year, but her withdrawals rise 3% a year with inflation, the account is under pressure from the beginning. The math is fragile because the withdrawal rate starts too high. One bad market sequence early in retirement can do more damage than the average return suggests. In the second version, she makes small adjustments, not dramatic ones. She renegotiates insurance, reduces car costs, cuts unused subscriptions, shops prescriptions differently, and starts planning repairs instead of reacting to emergencies. She trims $350 a month. Now the portfolio withdrawal is $850 a month, or $10,200 a year. That is still not perfect, but it drops the starting withdrawal rate from 7.8% to about 5.5%. Over 10 years, that $350 monthly reduction means $42,000 less pulled from the portfolio before counting investment growth. Same Linda, same house, same pension, less pressure. In the third version, she updates the whole plan. She trims $350 a month from her spending, earns $500 a month for 2 years doing seasonal consulting for the hospital system, and decides not to replace her car with a $32,000 financed vehicle. For those first 2 years, her portfolio withdrawal falls from $1,200 a month to $350 a month. That preserves $20,400 of principal in just 24 months. If that avoided withdrawal remains invested and compounds at 5% for 10 years, it becomes roughly $33,000. Then add the car decision. Avoiding a $32,000 auto loan at 7% over 5 years prevents roughly $6,000 in interest. So a handful of ordinary decisions protect around $39,000 over a decade. Linda does not need to become a trader. She does not need to reject every instinct she grew up with. The paid-off house matters. The pension matters. Discipline matters. But the budget has to include the costs that got bigger while the old advice stayed the same. Now look at Marcus. Marcus is 43. He earns $118,000 as an IT project manager. He has $92,000 in cash. And that is not nothing. His liquidity is real. He can survive a layoff. He does not carry credit card debt. He did not buy a house he could not afford. If his essential expenses are $5,500 a month, then 6 months of emergency savings is $33,000. A cautious 9-month emergency fund is $49,500. Even using the cautious number, Marcus has about $42,500 sitting above his emergency need. That excess money has a different job. Marcus does not see it that way because he watched 2008 at the wrong age. He saw home equity disappear. He saw retirement accounts fall. He saw adults who thought they were safe suddenly panic. So cash became safety. And cash is safety for the next emergency. But cash is not automatically safety for the next decade. Assume Marcus kept the full $92,000 in cash for 12 years, earning an average 1.5% through a mix of low-rate years and better high-yield savings periods. After 12 years, that cash grows to about $110,000. The statement balance goes up. But if inflation averages 3%, Marcus needs about $131,000 just to preserve the original purchasing power. So in real terms, he is short by about $21,000. That is the danger cash hides well. It does not crash in a single month. It just quietly buys less. Now compare 3 Marcus scenarios. First, all cash. He keeps the full $92,000 in the bank for 12 years at 1.5%. Ending balance, about $110,000. Second, he keeps the $49,500 emergency fund in high-yield savings and invests the $42,500 excess in a low-cost S&P 500 index fund, either in a taxable brokerage account or a retirement account if available. Assume the invested portion earns 7% a year before inflation for 12 years. That $42,500 becomes about $95,700. The cash reserve grows to about $59,200. Total, roughly $154,900. Compared with all cash at $110,000, the difference is about $44,900 before taxes on dividends and realized gains. Even after taxes, the gap is meaningful. Third, Marcus invests gradually because psychology matters. He keeps the $49,500 emergency fund and moves the $42,500 excess into the index fund over 24 months, about $1,770 a month. Because some of the money enters later, the invested portion might end closer to $88,000 instead of $95,600. Add the cash reserve to about $59,200, and he ends around $147,200. He gives up about $7,600 compared with investing the excess immediately, but he still beats the all-cash path by about $37,200. The real decision was never safety versus recklessness. It was which dollars need to be safe. Emergency dollars need stability. Long-term dollars need growth. Marcus was assigning the same job to every dollar, and that made the plan emotionally clean, but mathematically inefficient. Now widen the pattern. Rachel is 34, a marketing manager earning $82,000. She has $38,000 in federal student loans at 4.8%. Her employer offers a 100% match on the first 5% of salary. That means if Rachel contributes $4,100 a year, her employer adds another $4,100. But Rachel hates debt. She grew up watching relatives carry payments forever. So she sends an extra $4,100 a year to student loans and contributes nothing to the 401k. Her instinct is understandable, but she is treating a 4.8% student loan like a 24% credit card. If she pays the extra $4,100 toward loans for 10 years, she saves interest, maybe $12,000 to $14,000, depending on timing. That is real money. But if she contributes that same $4,100 to the 401k, she receives another $4,100 from her employer. Now $8,200 goes in each year. If those first 10 years of contribution compound at 7% from age 34 to 64, they can grow to roughly $470,000. Her out-of-pocket sacrifice was still $41,000 over the decade. The order matters. High-interest toxic debt first, Employer match before extra payments on moderate debt. Then invest and accelerate payoff based on rates, risk, and cash flow. Rachel was not foolish. She was following the right lesson in the wrong order. Then there is Tyler. Tyler is 25, earns $54,000 as a logistics coordinator, and saves $300 a month. That is impressive at his income. But the full $300 goes into crypto tokens, meme stocks, and options trades. He has no emergency fund, no Roth IRA, and a $2,700 credit card balance at 22%. Tyler is not afraid of markets. That is his strength. But he confuses access with an edge. If he keeps speculating while carrying the credit card balance, the card can easily drain more than $1,800 in interest over several years if he only makes small payments. Meanwhile, one 60% crash in the speculative account can wipe out months of savings. Same $300 a month, different order. If Tyler uses the first 10 months to clear the card, he earns a guaranteed 22% return by eliminating interest. Then, he builds a $3,000 emergency fund over the next 10 months. After that, he puts $300 a month into a Roth IRA with a diversified index fund for the remaining 40 months. At a 7% annual return, those Roth contributions could grow to about $19,300 by the end of 5 years, while the credit card stops bleeding money. Or he can keep a small speculation sleeve, pay off the card, build the emergency fund, then put $270 a month into the Roth IRA and $30 into speculative assets. If the speculation goes to zero, the damage is annoying, not life-changing. That is the hierarchy. Debt at 22% is a fire. Emergency cash is a shock absorber. A Roth IRA is a compounding engine. Speculation is last. The shared strategy is not to copy the generation before you, and it is not to do the opposite. It is to assign each dollar a job based on current math. Keep a real emergency fund. Capture the employer match. Rank debt by interest rate, not emotional intensity. Invest broadly and consistently through low-cost index funds, especially inside accounts like a 401k, Roth IRA, or traditional IRA. Keep speculation small enough that a total loss does not change your life. Linda's discipline matters. Marcus's caution matters. Rachel's dislike of debt matters. Tyler's willingness to invest matters. The mistake is letting one useful instinct become a permanent rule. The math shows the pattern. The advice was not always wrong. It was often right for the crisis that created it. But the next decision cannot be made from scar tissue alone. It has to be made from the numbers in front of you. Linda is still sitting at that kitchen table in Ohio, looking at a house she owns outright. No mortgage, no credit card balance, no reckless spending story hiding in the background. But the bills still arrive. Property taxes do not care that the mortgage is gone. Medicare premiums do not care that she worked in the same hospital system for decades. Insurance, utilities, groceries, and roof repairs do not care that she followed the old rule book. Her fixed income is $2,900 a month. Her real-life costs closer to $4,100. That leaves a gap of about $1,200 every month. That is the part the old promise did not explain. A pension can be valuable and still be incomplete. A paid-off home can be a blessing and still require thousands of dollars a year to keep standing. Then there is Marcus, 43, checking the same $92,000 cash balance that once made him feel untouchable. He was not careless. He was not lazy. He was disciplined because he saw what happened when people trusted too much. He watched 2008 turn home equity into panic and retirement accounts into family trauma. So he made cash his armor, and cash did protect him from one kind of danger, but it left him exposed to another. Inflation did not crash through the front door. It did not send a terrifying statement. It just made each dollar slightly weaker year after year, while the long-term money that could have grown stayed frozen. Now the pattern is clearer. Linda and Marcus were not opposites. They were carrying different umbrellas from different storms. Linda's umbrella was built for stable employers, pensions, and affordable homes. Marcus's was built after layoffs, foreclosures, and market collapse. The umbrella was not foolish. The mistake was assuming the weather would never change. So the final rule is not to copy your parents. And it is not to do the opposite. It is to keep the lesson, then update the math. Keep real cash reserves, but do not make every dollar an emergency dollar. Respect debt, but rank it by interest rate before skipping a 401k match. Let loyalty, caution, and ambition guide you, but never let one instinct become the whole plan. Build the boring base first. Emergency savings, employer match, Roth IRA when eligible, low-cost diversified index funds, debt decisions that compare interest cost against realistic returns. Speculation comes last, after the foundation is standing. If this video helped you see something you did not know was there, subscribe to Smart Money and hit the notification bell. We break down the hidden math behind the financial decisions you face every day. The goal is not to reject your generation's money instincts. It is to notice which instincts were built for a world that no longer exists.